Bearcat Bounce Podcast, back at it again. As always, I am Brent Young, and it's a Monday night, which means that I'm joined by two highly esteemed co-hosts, two fantastic guys that know how to break down the nuts and bolts of Cincinnati sports, Cincinnati Bearcats, and recently Cincinnati Bengals. Man, who they think gonna beat them Bengals? But without further ado, you can't mention the BBP. You cannot mention the Bearcat Bounce Podcast without mentioning our good friends over at Danco Transmission. Danco Transmission, guys. When the Bearcats shoot threes, Danco Transmission is the one that is there to supply the goods. 90. Is that right, Chad? 90.
You're on mute.
$90 off.
No. That was Memphis. So there was a game. It's the Wichita State game we're going off of right now.
Still?
There wasn't a game this weekend. Well, I guess the most recent game, if it's the most recent game was 90. So yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. $90 off. Anything that you spend over $100 on at Danco Transmission. That's crazy. $90. Thank the 16 total three-pointers made. Thank the offensive splurge that they've been on in such a heartbeat. Man, Danco Transmission, huge thanks to them.
Out in Fairfield.
Right across from Jungle
Gyms.
Yeah. I mean,
Look,
head over there.
You guys have been awesome with Galactic. I need you guys to get to Danco. $90 off a service, a repair. Anything over $100, you get $90 off this week. Mm-hmm. I need a couple of you to make it out there for me because we are wiping the floor with Galactic. We need to step it up, getting you guys out to Danco. Send me tweets with pictures, and the service is great. They're gonna take care of you. They're diehard Bearcat fans. They deserve our support. They're supporting this podcast. They're supporting this community. Help support them back for them. I know it's Fairfield. It's far for some of you, but it's worth it.
Very far from me. But
Same.
I tell you what, I'm down. I am so down if it comes to the point where I'm in town and I need a little oil change, or maybe I get a little, pull off on the side of the road, something that I can't do with my own hands and a quick YouTube video. Danco Transmission. Whew. Head over there. Mention Bearcat Journal. Mention BBP. Mention it all. You'll get it going. Oh.
We'll get started here. This is Deanna. She's a loyal listener. Funny story for you guys. Spirit Week for my daughter. She's wearing her Bearcats jersey tomorrow. She's upset I don't have a helmet and mouth guard to go with the jersey. Sounds like you're going to have to buy a helmet and mouth guard. You guys know what I had to buy today, right?
A new bathtub?
Well, no, I'm trying to find somebody that'll fix the hole. But it's related to that particular person who is not a Bengals fan this week. So what do you think I had to purchase today?
That's
Travis Kelce jersey.
Yeah, I did have to purchase a Travis Kelce jersey today.
That's on you, man.
What color did we go with? Red?
We went with the red. Yeah, they had an option in the white. I like the red more.
Mm-hmm.
And we could have done the cheap, like youth jersey, like the replica, but I'm not going to do that. But she's all in on Travis. She was to the verge of tears last night when Buffalo scored with 13 seconds left. She's like, they're not going to be able to do it, are they, Dad? And I was like, probably not, kid. 13 seconds. And you got to go pretty good amount here to get this field goal. The odds are not in your favor. And then when Travis caught that ball down the seam, the neighbors probably thought we were murdering her.
Well, you saw Chris Vanini's tweet where he said that game last night broke ESPN's win percentage tracker.
Yeah. Somebody said it looked like a defibrillator. It looked like a defib. So she's all in on the Chiefs. This house is going to be insufferable. We stopped by Twin Peaks with Mo and Tony today to have some dinner before the show. And she's just sitting there randomly, like making up Kansas City cheers, like at the table.
She's broken.
Let's go Chiefs.
Yeah, a Kansas City. Like that's all she did for an hour and a half sitting at the table, just making up cheers for the Chiefs. So it is going to be.
She goes from saying she's going to attend the University of Cincinnati to becoming a Cincinnati troll, all within the span of a month and a half.
Why is she a Chiefs fan?
Well, I know, but still, you can't like.
To her, that's the loyalty. To her,
understandable.
She is named to her incorrectly. She is named after Travis Kelce.
Yeah,
she's named after Jason Kelce, but she
you should have told her that you'd only buy her one Kelce jersey, and it's Jason, the one that she was named after. The end. The end. Hard stop.
Snippet there.
I don't know that they have women's fit Jason Kelce jerseys.
You get the custom made. It's fine.
Yeah, I think you have to have a beard if you get a Jason Kelce jersey. They're like, no, you have to send it like for the credentials.
Right?
You got to send in a headshot.
She's like, can you text Jason and see if he can get us tickets to the game? And I'm like, 1, no, and 2, he's literally a mountain man. Like, there's a 4% chance he checks his texts on a daily basis.
Someone else does it for him, right?
I just don't think he's one of those dudes that he has a phone, but it just kind of
Chris
sits
Long,
there.
but now he has no one. He has no one anymore.
Yeah. I guarantee he's one of those dudes that like just their phone sits there. You know, get back to you like 8 days later, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, I haven't looked at my phone."
Well, who knows?
She wants to go to Kansas City. She's begging me to take her to Kansas City for this game.
Where's your mute button for Kelce?
I wish it doesn't work. I've pointed it at her and tried it over. And I mean, I'd love to. If it was a Saturday, I'd probably go.
I mean, you can go to Kansas City. Did you tell her? Not sure if we're going to the game, but we'll go to Kansas City.
I mean, I'm sure I could find. I've got a way for everything. I'm sure I could find a way.
Get a press pass or two.
Yeah, we could work on something. We cover the Bengals here on Bearcat Journal now.
We do. Yeah.
But all that to be said, it's going to be a long week in the Brendel household leading up to Sunday. And if the Chiefs win, that kid is going to be insufferable for a long time.
Something tells me even if they lose, that'd be this little insufferable.
But at least if the Bengals win, she has to shut up about it.
Right.
So you're rooting real hard for the Bengals, right?
Yes.
I mean, listen to us talking about the Bengals possibly going to the Super Bowl. It's insane.
We're talking about Travis Kelce, which
we are.
Fits.
We are.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce and Cincinnati. But hey, you know what? That's the NFL talk. NFL was fantastic. A weekend off for the basketball team. But
man, that was nice.
I
needed a weekend to kind of recharge the batteries.
Right. But this isn't a normal layoff. This is it's gonna be the same amount of layoff. Well, before we jump into the Bearcat talk, guys, Chad Brendel, Aaron Smith, guys, how are we?
After another Bengals win and looking at the AFC Championship, I mean, it's been a wild ride as a Cincinnati fan this year, and I'm definitely looking forward to next weekend, man.
Whew, Chad, how are we?
I mean, I just told you how I am. Like,
I know. but as it pertains to the Cincinnati Bearcats, how are we?
I'm hanging in there. I'm doing good. I'm ready to get back on the horse starting tomorrow with are we going to have a bet? I'm sure it's something, but I'm already buying her the damn Travis Kelce jersey. I already lost the bet, and she doesn't have any money to buy anything because she spends her Christmas money like it's catching her pocket on fire. So she can't buy me anything. So if we have a bet, I'm going to have to pay myself for the bet.
You should just completely fool her and just buy a throwback Travis Kelce Bearcat jersey.
I should. And be like, if you want to wear a Travis jersey, here you go.
I mean, it would be warmly accepted at any Chiefs game. I guarantee you that. But
it would. Red and black, colors fit.
Yeah, it fits. This is Bearcat talk, guys. Let's dive into what is, all of a sudden,
Aaron,
when you
timestamp that 1 through 10 intro, 1 minute through 10 minutes intro
in NFL talk. I'm joking. You can leave out the NFL talk, but guys, this is everyone's favorite time of the college basketball season. If you are a fan of someone who maybe had some not really under average outlook heading into the season, or where performance has kind of outplayed where you expected a team to currently be, it's the bubble talk. It's time for bubble land, and a lot of huge games in the future. Don't get it twisted. This is nowhere by any means the start of a Cincinnati Bearcats back to the tournament conversation, but you see numerous different national outlets putting the red and black in those proverbial first four, next four outs, right there on that dreaded bubble, but sometimes, years like this, on the happily accepted bubble. Reason for that, high-level play, including their victory against Tulsa, 90-69. 90-69, a 21-point victory against Tulsa. Chad and Aaron, you guys kind of recap this a bit on the nightly recap, but as you look back, I know it was last Thursday night. I mean, this was a game where, yet again, they were on fire from deep, played highly connective defense. They were flying all over the place. Probably one of their better all-around games this entire year.
Yeah, they played really well. I mean, they shot it well. The defensive intensity was good. The effort was good. I thought for about 35 minutes, I did think there was a little 5-minute window at the end of the first half where we saw things dip a little bit, but then they jumped right back on it in the second half and pulled away and coasted to victory. So overall, like you have to be thrilled with the trajectory that we're on right now watching this basketball program.
There's no doubt. And I also want to take a step back because, you would look at Tulsa and you would kind of just say 6-11 is what they're currently at after a loss to Memphis this weekend. And you kind of be like, okay, well, yeah, Cincinnati should beat that team by that much. But then you look at it, if you had read my little preview article, I know those are so thrilling to read with, especially with these teams with bad records. But I mean, you look at SMU, they lost by 5. Memphis, they lost by 3. Temple, they lost by 5. Houston, they lost by 2. And then Memphis again this weekend, they lost by 2 in a game that they were up the entire game by double digits for most of it. I mean, this is a Tulsa team that is a couple bounces here and there from being near the top of the AAC. They can't close games out, which obviously is very resembled in their record, but still it's a game where 90-69, that's the widest spread of margin that they've had in the entire season. What are these eyes, Chad?
I can't say.
Oh gosh.
Let's just say I got some info that will be breaking news tomorrow around 6:30.
Okay. Breaking news tomorrow around 6:30 p.m.
About a half hour before tip-off.
Half hour before tip-off.
Which is usually when the pregame show starts and breaking news type things happen.
Okay.
I expect it to be good news.
Oh.
I can't elaborate, but I expect it to be good news. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Do with that what you will, and then at 6:30 tomorrow, when there's breaking news and it's good news, you go, there it is. There it is.
I don't think it's difficult if you are an avid Bearcat fan to put 2 and 2 together there. Hopefully, the Chad man himself has not relayed anything to us. So, hey guys, 6:30.
No, it just happened right now on my phone.
Right. So we'll see what happens, guys. 6:30. Turn on 700 WLW. Hear it out of the goat's mouth first. Dan Horde, I believe he's on the call tomorrow, right?
Yes, he's back.
Okay. Dan Horde, we'll see. But yes, going back to the game, 16 made threes for the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Second time in conference play, they've made
Second time in
16
5
threes.
Do you guys know, a little trivia question, do you guys know the last time that the Bearcats made 16 threes?
Memphis
game.
No, outside of this year.
Oh. It was like, was it like 2007 or so? It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Yes. One of the leading scorers in the history of Bearcat basketball was on the team. He led the team in three-pointers made, along with a guy that has a fantastic first name and hit a nice buzzer beater in a home game against Alabama once. So it was against Chicago State back in 2011.
Yeah, I was thinking 7 or 8 for some reason, but yeah, it's
Right.
2000. Yeah, there you go.
Kashmir Wright and Sean Kilpatrick leading the squad with 4 apiece. And then how about who came off the bench to sprinkle in another 3? Jeremiah Davis.
JD3.
JD3. Not quite the JD that's on the court, sprinkling 7 made threes in both of those 16-3 games. But, this clearly is – are you thinking this is because Wes really pointed it out in the post-game press conference about how he doesn't think this is just a hot streak that the team is riding right now. He instead thinks that this is hard work coming through and just proof of the type of team that he believes he has. Do you think that this is – obviously they aren't going to be shooting 44% from here on out for the rest of the season. But, I mean, you got to imagine these are confident shooters who are knocking down shots in rhythm. Some of JD's threes are crazy, and obviously DDJ has the crazy step back. But do you think this is just kind of a sign for what is to continue the rest of the way, or should everyone expect a little bit of a pullback? Or, I mean, double-digit threes is not crazy to imagine. 16 a game, probably a little bit too far-fetched. What's your outlook as far as it goes from deep? Because it seems like they really like to shoot those up.
Aaron, go ahead. My dogs are demanding the microphone right now.
So the outlook ahead, I mean, obviously this team has decided that they're going to live and die by the 3, right? So
I don't buy that.
You don't think so? I mean, I know that they're running a much faster offense, so they're getting the ball out of their hands much faster into the shot clock than a traditional Cincinnati team. And doing so, you're also getting a lot more threes than we're accustomed to seeing. But I mean, I think when you're taking close to 30 threes a game, like that's not like anything we've ever seen here at Cincinnati.
No, it's not. And in the same sense, you look at kind of the totals that they've had throughout. They are firing up quite a lot of threes. It's on pace for I'd say how many 3 attempts a game? Roughly, I'd say around 30, maybe. Probably about 27.
Closer to 25, 20, yeah.
25 to 30, around there. By the end of the season.
College basketball now.
Which is, it's basketball in general now. So
that's no different than anywhere else. Like, I don't think this is all of a sudden like Cincinnati is irresponsibly shooting threes. 1.
Oh, no way.
2, I mean, the guys that are shooting them are the guys that you want shooting him.
Right.
Sure. And I mean, I guess I wasn't trying to say like that this is going to be their Achilles heel or something like that. I'm just saying like, I mean, we've evolved from a program that with what was the previous regime. I'm still not certain at all what that offense was. And then
it wasn't even half installed, Aaron.
It was incomplete.
And then the rock fights we were used to with Mick Cronin and worried more about how many deflections you had than actual baskets. The offense has evolved and we're in a different era, obviously. And it's very interesting. It's far more aesthetically pleasing than anything we've had over the course of the last 10 years.
Yeah. And here's also the case and point is that I do think the previous regime wanted to, recruit and target shooters. And some of those players obviously are really starting to shine in the games today. And I think the thing is confidence goes a mile in college basketball. And when you know that even if you fire up an ill-advised three or one that's still quick on the shot clock, you don't have to turn around and look over your shoulder immediately. You have the ability to know that, hey, I have the faith of my coaching staff to know that I put in the work to have the ability to attempt these shots. So, I mean, I think that the confidence that these players are playing with, especially David DeJulius, I mean, he's a completely changed man from last year to this season. And it's just evident in the way that they play. And it's evident now that when the defense ties in and when everyone's kind of just flowing with each other, I mean, that's when 3-point shots are made. And, you even saw Mason Madsen, who admitted that he was a little bit cold throughout the beginning of the season. Some of that was injury. Some of that was, maybe just getting into the flow of things. And then he comes out and he just splashes them with ease. And, he said he doesn't really feel the need to make a couple in order to keep shooting. It's just more of a confidence thing and just going out there and making the shots that he knows he can make. So I think confidence is something that is invaluable in any sport, but in college basketball, if you have that and you're flowing together as a team, I think that it's going to be something that continues on, not at a 44% clip rate, but something that, will just continue on, and it'll be a big focal point of the offense, especially as they continue to amp up the defense.
Well, something big, and I think Justin Williams has even written about this, and it's been talked about some on Bearcat Journal. I think one of the big things we're seeing is something that I wondered when Wes Miller was hired. Would we get a genuine version of that vaunted North Carolina secondary press break? And we're getting that. And that is – so a lot of times what teams will do is they'll try to push tempo. If they can't push tempo, they'll immediately get into their sets, okay? The secondary action from North Carolina is a direct continuation of the press so that the defense still is scrambling and it's looking to get clean looks before the defense really gets back and set up. And that's something I've always wondered, why is it not more prominent in college basketball with how incredibly successful it was for Roy Williams in North Carolina? And we are getting Wes Miller's version of the secondary press break. And what is happening is we're getting a lot of rhythm, clean, 3-point looks, and a lot of looks earlier in the shot clock that we just talked about. They're playing faster, that are coming off of that secondary action. Because it's a philosophy that when it becomes natural, when it becomes second nature, you automatically as a player with the ball in your hands know, okay, we're not getting that first action. Boom, 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 2 or 3 passes, wide open shot to a guy you want taking a wide open shot, and bang.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that, I think, is just the nature of like the evolution that we're seeing as this team is becoming more accustomed to Wes Miller. So that's a big part of it, man, because it's such a weapon, because it's not something a lot of teams run. Again, I have no clue. Like, it's such a copycat sport, right?
Yeah.
How is there not more copycat on North Carolina's secondary press break? Like secondary transition, secondary fast break. I call it press break, but it's more secondary fast break.
And it's NBA as well.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA does a lot of it too. The NBA gets quicker because they have to, though. The NBA has to get out of it quicker because of their shot clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get into isolation, pretty much immediately after that.
Right.
It's just something in the college game. Like kids aren't adjusted and used to seeing it, and you get them scrambling because they're used to run back down the floor, stop transition, and then everybody kind of identify, locate, and then lock into your man-to-man defense.
Mm-hmm.
The secondary break allows uncertainty. It forces them to keep scrambling, and it's very effective. So good on Wes Miller, good on the team for continuing to get better at that, because that's where we're seeing the tempo, the upped tempo come from.
Yeah. I agree.
But one of the things that when you talk about confidence, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it because I don't know that we've touched on it too much, but I feel like I continue to see people on Twitter, especially, just kind of out here saying that they still think that Wes Miller runs too many substitutions, gets people out of the flow of the game, and he's just kind of doing the ice hockey, clearing the bench stuff that we had talked about, where he's just throwing in, sometimes three guys at a time. And like, do you think there's anything to that? Like that he's throwing them off their rhythm, or is this just simply when you have a team of guys that aren't really elevating once you get past DeJulius, once you get past Davenport, that this is what you have?
Do me a favor, throw up the stats from the last game.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about something as it relates to this. Let's take a look right here in this category. And it's even more prominent if you go back one more game to, was that ECU? Was the game before?
Wichita State.
Wichita State. Wichita State, it's even more prominent. Get Wichita State ready as well. 31 minutes, 20 minutes, 27 minutes. You're starting to see the main guys separate themselves.
Yeah.
You're still seeing a lot of substitution, but you're seeing the main guys on the floor for longer stretches as we get further and further into conference play. Boom. DeJulius, 32. Newman, 31. Adams Woods, 30. Davenport, 32. And then the bigs and Saunders are rotating in behind with a little bit of Mason Madsen and Jared Hensley mixed in to get guys a breather in each half. So while that was something that was rightfully talked about early, I don't think we have to spend a whole lot of time on it now because we're seeing a shift to, if you're going to have to win close, tight conference games, you have to do it more with your best players regularly on the floor. I think Wes has gotten more of a NBA approach to substitution where it's very formulaic. It's not, the dogs are on one tonight. It's not random where it's just, you made a bad play, you're out. It's at this time on the clock, that's when we get player A a breather. And then at this time, this is when we get player B a breather. Is there some variation to that? Yes. But it seems to be rather formulaic in how Wes wants to do it, which is much more NBA than college.
Just curious.
I'm just answering.
Well, another thing is this that didn't really get mentioned through it all is that, Vic has been out the past two games as well on top of this. So,
yeah.
I don't know what his impact when he does return is going to be as far as the minutes go, because it seems like everyone has really stepped their game up as a whole. Hayden Koval probably number one in that.
He's had a couple good games for sure.
His play up. So I think it's a luxury to have that amount of players that can play off the bench. So I would say worst case is minutes trimmed down a little bit in those close games, but I think you just continue with the rotations. And, I think you saw in that Wichita State game, it was Hayden Koval who was a little hot in the end. And so he played a little bit of extra minutes that, maybe Abdul-Ado or Du will be playing in a different game, or Odio Guama if he's really stepping up his intensity, or if Vic is healthy, what Vic can do. So, it's going to be interesting to see as, Vic gets back into the fold and different players of the sort are kind of have their minutes taken away. Or, if you have a player like Mason Madsen who makes 2 or 3 in a row, you probably aren't going to bench him for the rest of the half. You're probably going to let him go out there and play a couple more extended minutes. So, yeah, it's a luxury to have that at your disposal rather than saying, oh, gosh, who are we going to put in to spell our star for 2 minutes?
And what happened at the beginning of the season? Those players were developed.
Yeah.
Those players were given confidence.
Right.
So that when they're called upon, even if it may be in a lesser role, they are entering the game knowing that they belong.
Yep.
As opposed to questioning, like you need them later in the season and you didn't get them ready. and you have a situation where you're playing without Vic, you're playing without John Newman, and AJ McGinnis is limited still because he's coming back from being sick.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, if you didn't play a lot of guys early and get them ready, now you're playing catch up.
Right. I agree. Well, and one player I want to point out as well that I wasn't as high on as some people were is Micah Adams-Woods. And he's a player that I think has taken his game another level up as well. I think in that Tulsa game, you saw his driving ability, which is continued to get better. Something that I thought really wasn't something that he had in his arsenal. But he showed me some things in that Tulsa game. And then, of course, he did have a couple of lapses from the free throw line early in the season. But then you look at conference play, and it's what he has made 14 of 15 from the stripe. So, if he can continue that steady shot from the free throw line down the rest of the way, I mean, this is a team that they're molding together, they're clicking, and they're doing it defensively as well. In that first half against Tulsa, especially in the beginning of the game, they were flying around. They were playing a high level of defense against a team that we keep saying these teams are they're desperate. They're desperate for a win. I mean, this is a team in Cincinnati that's not backing down from anyone. And I'm excited to see what they do tomorrow night as well, because this Temple team is one that they've had 13-day layoff. The whole COVID thing has kind of hit them. It hit them personally for a little bit, and then, of course, their opponents as well. Kind of just the perfect storm of that. So I'm interested to see tomorrow who it is that's going to step up, because inevitably it'll be someone that we might not expect, or someone that continues this hot streak and shows that what they can do out on the court. So, but at Temple and at ECU, can you tell me two more AAC back-to-back road trips that Bearcat fans just look at and they kind of dread, other than, of course, Houston? But man, I tell you what,
this is maybe the most. I don't want to get caught up in the hyperbole of things, but
right,
this is an insanely important stretch for this team, because if they can get through these two games unscathed,
right,
they'll be on a 5-game winning streak going into Memphis and Houston at home.
Yep.
And you're in a situation where now you're starting to play for a spot in the NCAA tournament. Like, they're still a ways back, but they're not to a point where you can't see it.
Right.
If you win these two road games and you get into February at 16-4 or whatever it is?
Yes.
You would be 16-4, I think, because they're 14-4 now.
14-4, 14-5 now. They'd be
14-5. That's right. 16-5. And now all of a sudden, it's possible. Yeah. You lose one of these, you're going to have to be almost perfect in February.
For what it's worth, Ken Pom has them winning both 66-64 tomorrow against Temple, 72-67 against ECU, but I mean, anything can happen.
Yeah.
In the AAC.
These are an important two games. These two games, because of where things are at, these two games matter. So it's important that they are able to go get both of these and, go into that Memphis-Houston stretch with a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum.
I mean, Temple's a weird.
Kind of what we talked about too.
Yeah,
it's just kind of what we talked about too, where it's having that marquee win against Illinois earlier in the season means so much now as you start approaching the bubble season, if you will, because not a whole lot of teams have that top 10 win when you're starting to look at comparable teams sitting on the bubble.
Yeah, that's why we made that point last week.
And you know what? I think that the rescheduling of Houston, I don't know exactly how that works, if it's completely out of both teams' hands, or if both programs have a say and yes, let's try and reschedule this postponed game.
I believe it's the league.
Okay. Either way, when you put that at the end of the season, in kind of a weird time, because I mean they have that weekend off. I don't know why. I guess probably because Houston has a game that weekend, but whatever. But having that Houston game on the road back on the schedule and then playing at SMU 2 days later, if Cincinnati
gauntlet.
Yes, but if Cincinnati can take care of business, those are two giant resume building games.
They're not. Come on, Brent. They're not winning at Houston.
Oh no. I'm just saying they're opportunities, if you will.
Yeah. If you want to talk about potentially beating Houston,
that's all you want.
It can be done here. It can be done here.
Right. But no, I'm saying like if the committee's like, oh, they need one more marquee win. A win at SMU would be big. That's a big win because it'll probably be between those two as well for one of the last few teams in. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be an exciting rest of the way. But as Wes Miller said, and as every single coach always says, got to take one game at a time, one day at a time, and that means tomorrow, Temple, how do you say it? The Licorice Center, the Licorice.
Licorious. Yeah.
Fran Dunphy will not be on the sideline.
Center.
Fran Dunphy will not be on the sideline.
There's a licorice center in this league. There's a frittata center in this league if you like eggs.
Yep. There's the Roundhouse of pancakes and out there in Wichita.
We got him started. We're never going to get out of here.
Licorice Center. That is I always hate playing there, but whenever you've got a water bottle in the area or Fran Dunphy or Aaron McGee,
when there's a water bottle, there's a way.
There's a chance for you. But yeah, I mean, it's a time that is awesome because this team does seem like they're clicking. It does seem like they're figuring out ways not only when the shots are falling, when they aren't. Wichita, they weren't necessarily falling. 8 of 22 from deep. They strapped in defensively. They were able to pull out that win. So yeah, and that Wichita game, if the Shockers are able to string together some wins, they could move up to a quad 1 win. So man, there's a lot of possibilities for the rest of the season. But right now, the Bearcats are definitely on the right side.
I thought it was worth mentioning that Cincinnati is only favored by 2 at Temple, and by ESPN's FPI or BPI, I'm sorry, they're only giving them 51.7% chance to win.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very close there too.
Well, ECU is always a nightmare because going to Greenville is a nightmare.
Yeah,
just is what it is. But I'm sure. Look, teams want to get in and out of Greenville as fast as possible. So a noon tip on Sunday, I'm like, okay, get up, let's get this thing over with, get on the plane, and get the hell out of here.
I mean, ECU, man, golly. Chad, will you ever go to Greenville?
No.
Nope. Not in the contract.
I negotiated that when I negotiated with myself. There was a no Tulsa, no Greenville clause that I won out in arbitration.
I tell you what, I did make the trip to Tulane for the football game this year.
New Orleans is the different. I didn't say there was a no Tulane clause.
Ride that green wave, baby. Ride that green wave. That was a heck of a time. But yeah, I mean that at Temple, at ECU. When those Memphis is who has any idea what Memphis is? Penny Hardaway is losing his mind. I mean they were down double digits against Tulsa, come back and win in a AAC finish if I've ever seen an AAC finish.
That was the worst 25 seconds of offense I've ever seen.
It is what it
is.
It's
brutal.
It was brutal. Definitely brutal. But they go Memphis in those beautiful throwback jerseys. Guys, what are your thoughts on those throwback unis?
I mean, they're nice. They really reached back for those, and they are certainly original. We talked about it when they dropped that it was cool that they did that photo shoot at the Armory.
Yep.
So,
gosh, I second whoever else said it. I think Mo might have tweeted it where, man, they need to put those warm-ups on sale immediately because I want one. I absolutely want one.
They need to put lots of stuff that they let the athletes wear on the sidelines on sale, but they don't. So,
including what Colin Hischler was wearing at a recent basketball game. Man, I love that. I love that that warm up, that little windbreaker. You know what I'm talking about? The off red one. Whoo! Man, that's beautiful.
About throwbacks though, what about the drop this weekend?
Oh.
Fire.
Good shirt there, Aaron. Nice shirt. Nice shirt, bud. Nice shirt. So what they finished top 4 in that the what was that, top 4 in your first 12 hours of sales for home field?
24 hours. Yeah, 12 hours. Yeah, first 12 hours.
Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. And also hilarious that they had to edge out the Notre Dame Fighting Irish to sneak into the top 4.
Did you buy anything additional, Brent?
I did.
I did too.
There it is. Beautiful looking. Beautiful. Oh.
And I think, for my money, this was the best one.
Ready? Oh, the baseball one. So what was 54? Is that Koufax?
No, well, I think it was when they made the tournament, the last time prior to a couple years ago.
Okay.
When they made the tournament. And somebody, I think it might have been Alex Appian, said this particular Bearcat is me. That's me as a Bearcat. And I thought, I looked at it, I thought, you know what? Not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that embodies me as a Bearcat?
That's Michigan State fans and Xavier fans in my mentions, and here we are.
This one is sweet. Like, I love this one. I got a couple extras too. I got the girls wanted tank tops.
Yeah.
So I got the girls tank tops.
I got the crew neck and the hoodie.
The collection is still live. Throw up that scroll, Aaron. There's still a sponsor this week. Home Field Apparel.
Mm-hmm.
Check them out.
And I'm a massive sucker for the old school Seapaw.
I got that T-shirt also.
What are you a dunking Bearcat guy?
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. Bring it back in the center court, man. Oh man.
So they're still going strong. Get to homefieldapparel.com. Enter Bearcat Journal. Get your 15% off. I know we had a lot of people save a lot of money.
Yep. So wait, so what is it? They said that there's another team dropping this weekend or something like that?
Well, they drop one every Saturday for 8 weeks.
Okay.
So that's it. It's called Big News Saturday. That's kind of their thing.
Okay.
And they drop a new team every week for 8 weeks. This is season 3 of their big new apparel lines. I think they're hinting pretty hard. If you were we did a Twitter Spaces. Can you not find it, Aaron? Do you need help?
I got it.
No, you don't.
Hey, Aaron with the save.
That wasn't what I was
got
talking
a lot of
about.
things up right now.
I was
What do you
talking
mean?
about this. The scroll. I said, get the scroll up.
I scrolled to show you.
Well, I'm talking about save 15% using the code Bearcat Journal at homefieldapparel.com.
Home
I didn't mean
field.
you had to take the collection down. The collection was sweet.
Well, that's
anyhow,
what I was doing, was trying to find the whole collection, man.
I was just wanting to get the scroll here while we were talking about home field. That's all. And then Aaron and I have talked about it, Brent. We haven't gotten your thoughts yet.
Okay.
As we move on from home field, about what else came out on Friday, which was the release of the 70s throwbacks, the Cats.
We were just talking about it, and then we led into this. But man, yes, that is beautiful. That is so beautiful. And you know what the thing is? It's not like I have seen it before in pictures, but it's not one that's like pumped in your face as much as the other throwbacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like, the Jordan blocks or, the old school Seapaw, like Crypt Keeper says. Oh man, scary picture. But it is one that is like, it's awesome. And now it's iconic in my eyes. And the fact that they're able to mold it with kind of like, it's got a little bit of a modern feel to it, with everything throwback.
It's retro, like chic, I guess. Is
Right.
that what they call it call it now?
That was pretty good. Little LA coming out of you there. But no, I love it. I think it looks spectacular, and you never lose in throwbacks. You ain't going to lose in those throwbacks, baby. So
they're rocking them. Game. They're rocking them for the Memphis game, and they're rocking them for Senior Day.
Yep, USF. Here's the thing. You don't want to rock them in a game that's going to be like Memphis game is going to be crazy. Yes. But man, that Houston game within itself that Sunday, if they can string together wins, you don't want anything other than just here it is on a platter, Cincinnati versus Houston at Fifth Third Arena. So no, I'm excited for those. I can't wait to see and man, they look so good on the players too. Man, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome to see those.
It's unfortunate that they're not going to have the jerseys available. But if you read the story, they pushed these things through in basically record time because they wanted to wear them this year. And that meant not getting the uniforms, the replica uniforms for sale. But the gear with just the cats on it is still sweet.
Yeah, it is. I like it a lot. Speaking of throwbacks, with the throwbacks, you got to have the new school. You guys are, and yes, I read someone in the comments said the ECU game scares the poop out of you. Yeah, for sure. It always does. Every year it does. And you know what? It always seems to happen on the Sunday before a big game. I think it's either Tulane or ECU. Always just gives it Bearcats right before a big NFL game, whether it be the Super Bowl, now this weekend, the Bengals. Yeah. I do not like playing at ECU. It's not fun at all.
He called the shit poop.
It stinks. It's stanky. It is so stanky. But out with the old and in with the new. Mick Walker, who's killing it. Are you guys done with kind of just the basketball talk of things? Ready to move on to?
I was going to say I need to know if I need to put a timestamp here.
Timestamp it 10 minutes to 47 minutes. Basketball. If you'd like to sponsor the timestamps, we've had a couple inquiries, no takers quite yet, but we talk these out now every time there's a timestamp. If you'd like to be talked about every time we timestamp, my DMs are open. We can get your business promoted like we do Danco, like we do Galactic Fried Chicken, like we did with Home Field to get them one of the top 4 sales days in the history of the company, like we do with our friends at 513 Shirts. If you want to be part of that, like we do with the Holy Grail, our longest standing sponsor. If you want to be a part of that, come join us. You can sponsor the timestamps too. Okay, now we can go.
Rayvon Griffith. Awesome article.
Okay.
Mick Walker dropped it.
Look, you guys need to give Mick more love because he's spending all of Brian.
Dad joke.
He's spending all of the money I pay him driving across the state to watch football workouts and basketball games. He's a lunatic. He's killing it. Aaron, why didn't you have that level of dedication when you were the recruiting guy?
Because I like working for you. I wasn't trying to use you as a stepping stone.
Oh boy. But there's the newest article on Rayvon Griffith. You can find that on my Twitter if you would if you're a member. If you're not a member, you're going to have to subscribe to Bearcat Journal. And then then you can read it. We don't want to give away too much.
No. More than just, honestly, more of a tease to the story. That a couple of quotes in there that you 100% read, and you got to like the situation that the red and black are in right now. Just kind of seems like a recruitment that is highlighted and prioritized by the staff, has been since they got here. So just an awesome article, kind of really exemplifying that, and the the top 10 is what it is, but when it dwindles down, if you make that next cut, the cut after that, as long as you're sticking around after each little round of cuts, you're going to be right there to the end. And I don't know, man. It seems like the way that he's talking, the way that the staff has been at a lot of the games, seems like this could be one to track all the way until the very end.
I agree.
Aside from that, Josh Reed is really good at basketball.
He is really good, right?
Everyone's been talking a lot about, they can't wait till Daniel Skillings gets on campus, this, that, and the other. Reed's putting himself out there as well. He's having a great season for a high-level team. I just can't wait to see what all these new additions can do on a roster that's going to be pretty much intact from this season going into next year. Man, the future is very bright. I saw your boy Swain had an article out about him as well on BCJ, Chad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Dalen Swain fan just because I think with his size and versatility, he can just help you in so many different ways. But this 2023 class is going to be interesting because they are swinging big.
Has Swain kind of shot up a little bit? It looks like he's gotten taller.
I mean, he was always tall and long. It looks like he's added another inch or two. I mean, I just from people talking to people, the word is he's a little bit bigger than he was back in the spring and summer.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying 6'7", 6'8" is where he's at right now. He plays point guard for his high school team. He projects as a wing in college. But if you've got a 6'7", 6'8" kid with point guard type of ability to handle the ball and pass, and he rebounds and he defends, like that's especially when you're adding the type of skill you have with Skillings and Reed, adding another jumbo wing that's kind of got some dog to him that does some of the dirty work stuff. I mean, I'm a big fan of it. I know they got their eyes on a lot of dudes, and this spring and summer is going to be really interesting out on the road, figuring out what they're going to do in 2023. But they're not swinging small. They're not looking to put together a solid class. They're looking to put together a great class. So those two guys are in the mix. How many wings can you take in that class? If you've already taken Skillings and Reed, even though Reed is kind of you can play him as a 3, you can play him as a stretch 4.
Right.
How the construction, because you're going to take a point guard in that class. You're going to take a wing in that class. You're probably going to also take a big. Do you take multiple wings again? Like, it's going to be interesting as one of those storylines when we get into April and May.
And also the fact that they've got some high-level guards they're also after. It's going to be exciting to track recruiting because it does seem like it's something that's really on the uptick, if you will, after so many question marks, and of course also just the amount of transfers as well that can affect teams. I'm sure one or two, but one probably will be added. No talks of that, obviously, as there's not much to talk about there, but just the ability for the team to locate talent as they've been able to do this season, putting together a team like this on the fly that is scratching at the surface of an NCAA berth, or at least being in the conversation. Man, I just can't wait to see what they can do with a year or 2 years or 3 years under their belt as they continue to build the program. So, man, a lot of promise, a lot of optimism for a young optimist of myself. And Aaron and Chad, you guys are hopping on the train as well. I can't wait to ride it all the way to the promised land with you. But
hey, Chad, one of the questions in the chat here from Jason Cooper is serious question. How much does Mick from a Bearcat site, in your mind, help raise UC's level in recruits' eyes?
Walker?
Yes.
I don't think the recruits really think much about it. I think it's for the members. Like that's why you hire the best people to go out and get the best content. I think like some of the traveling around helps in building relationships with the high school coaches. so that we can provide the best possible coverage. But we're talking 17-year-olds. They're not picking a school because the school has their favorite recruiting guy.
Yeah. So what? You're going to talk to Mick Walker and then you get a phone call from Ryan Day. Are you going to be like, wow, that meeting with Mick in the beginning of the day was awesome?
Right?
But no,
I remember when Mick stopped at my school for my workout in the summer. That really stuck with me.
But no, I mean, it is awesome to get them exposure, though. And
sure.
continue to
It helps.
Yeah, right. But I mean, in the end, it's recruiting, and there's so much more than just covering it. But man,
I'm just saying,
awesome
this is the biggest decision of a kid's life. On the pros and cons list is not like the breaking down the recruiting guys and your relationship from each school.
Yeah. So, but I mean, man, Mick does a hell of a job.
He's crushing
hats
it.
off to him. Yeah, hats off to him, man. He's the man. Speaking of killing it, I guess as we morph into football, excuse me here.
Timestamp.
And
Are we doing football recruiting? Do we want to timestamp all that together? Recruiting timestamp?
Yes, I like that. Yeah.
Okay. Don't timestamp it yet, Aaron. No timestamp. Brought to you by ...
As we morph into football, let's talk about the two commitments that have been taken by the programs since we last talked. Of course, I want to start with Jackson Mcgowan. Man, you look at a guy that has really kind of just raised his level of recruitment with kind of a breakout season last year. He had some unreal highlight catches throughout the season. Obviously, a teammate of AJ Sally, Aaron and I, a couple of times down on the field before games, Sally would walk up to us and be like, "Yo, Jackson's got to become a Bearcat. Yo, we got to make sure he becomes a Bearcat." So it's awesome to see that come to fruition. And then of course you see he's starting to get offers and bigger looks and things of that sort. So the staff just locating a local talent that they believe in and kind of just doing their due diligence. And now there he is, a Bearcat, and man, he looks like a real game changer.
You can never have too many kids with good size and great hands in your offense.
No,
that's even if like the minimum expectation is he becomes one of those weapons on third down that can go get you 7 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's invaluable. Like you need guys like that playing the skill positions. He doesn't have the breathtaking speed. He's going to have to continue to develop running routes and getting in and out of his cuts and doing the finer points of playing tight end. But the reality is, this is a kid with, he's 6'4", 6'5", whatever. I don't know the exact measurements. I'm sure we'll get that in the summer at camp. But he's a big kid that can make tough catches, and that's how you recruit offense.
He's had some highlight reel catches too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what happens when you have great hands. You can go out and make plays on the ball, and that's why I'm saying you can never add too many of those kids to your system that can just go out, high point the ball, and make a play.
That Odell Beckham snag that I retweeted it. Man, unreal.
Months ago.
And of course, a basketball player. It looks like he can fill it up on the court as well. Luke has talked in the past about how he loves multi-sport athletes, especially if it's wrestling. But this is kind of one that of course kind of piques your interest because it just shows that high level of athleticism that he has, whether he's going to bring it to you in any facet at the next level. So a really big pickup and one that I think is going to continue to grow and become an even larger pickup as his season wears on, especially next year. So monstrous. And then, well, speaking of monstrous, man, another big one, D'Artagnan Tinsley. News broke just right before the Tulsa game last Thursday.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work better on kids announcing while I'm busy. Come on.
Well,
I got work to do.
How about the Godfather, Dante Corleone? He committed at halftime of a game.
Kids are killing me. They're killing me.
I had
Because
to
why
type up
wouldn't he?
the story during the first half of the game. I forget which game it was, but that was kind of hilarious. But the Godfather can do what he wants, right, Aaron?
Agreed.
Agreed. D'Artagnan Tinsley, his measurables just jump off the page. I guess this was the question that I had. I don't know. Does he ever have a history of any center play? I know it says interior offensive lineman. Chad, do you know at all if he has played center in the past, or if he was kind of just strictly kind of like a guard, or could possibly play tackle? Looks like definitely just a big human with a possibility to develop into a position of need.
I think at the lower levels, he's played tackle. My understanding, he measured just a little bit under 6'4", so right in that 6'3.5", almost 6'4" range. Super long arms, big hands. The type of measurements you want in a kid that has some positional versatility. I think I think he might get a look at tackle, but my guess is they see him as kind of an interior guy that's just going to bully people at the point of attack. But we haven't heard from Mike Cummings yet. We don't know kind of what his philosophy is as an offensive line coach. We don't know what his system looks like yet. So add another piece that's going to be fascinating to watch in spring football.
Yeah. I mean, because, obviously we talk about all these late additions on the offensive line that have come into the program, and it seems like every single one has kind of hit, has had success. I mean, even Tunstall, who this past season, I think he's going to continue to really look good. But I mean, man, that's a big human being, and as you mentioned, one who the staff, especially the just recently hired Cummings, has been big on him as well. So bring him in, develop, see what happens. He definitely fits the bill, looks wise. And one last one. Obviously, it seemed like the offers have been flowing galore. Cain Green, though, that's one that kind of jumps off the page. Looks like he visited campus. Man, he is a large human as well. One that is a prototypical NFL caliber, looks wise and play wise, potential wise, as he is top 100 in the country in the composite for 247 Sports. Was this something that has been in the works for a while, Chad, as far as you can gather? Looks like an offer was extended at the end of November of last year. So,
yeah, I mean, they've been talking to him for a while. The visit, I think, kind of was rapid developing. He's also visiting in the next 2 weekends, I believe, Alabama and Georgia. So the competition is going to be fierce.
So the top 3 teams in the country based off the past 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, the top 3 teams in the country are the ones that are going to be battling it out for this one. So weird to say that, but not false.
No, not entirely false. No,
not entirely false. So yeah, like it's a big opportunity to just put your name out there that this is where we're at now. Like, we're taking some big swings, and not only are you taking those big swings, but kids are listening. Like, everybody can take big swings, right? But if nobody listens, what does it really matter? Right. And now those kids are starting to answer the phone and get on a plane, because that's my understanding is his family flew to Cincinnati on their own dime for this unofficial visit. So, it's a continued elevation of the status of the program. 6'5", 310, and I'm told when he got to campus, everybody was like, "Oh, that's what it looks like." The guys that are going to Alabama and Georgia, that's what they look like when they're juniors in high school, and that's frightening.
Last but not least, Malik Hartford. The offers have been pouring in.
Safe to say he has what they call in the business blown up.
Yes, I think that's safe to say. Obviously, the lead, Perry Eliano at Ohio State. Perry was not the lead here at Cincinnati, I don't believe. So
It was Hitchler.
It was Hitch. So, another one where, of course, you saw that picture at the Lakota West versus East basketball game. Hartford sitting there. Looks like Luke's whole family was in attendance. He was in the vicinity near Tress and everyone as well. Hitch was also there. So he was decked out in some Cincinnati gear. Not saying it means anything at this point, but the Bearcats seem to be in the thick of things, and it seems as if it was something that, if you want to fight with the big fish, Malik Hartford is going to be one that you got to fight for. So
a lot of familiar names involved with Malik Hartford the last 3 days, as he got offers from Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman and Mike Mickens, Ohio State, Perry Eliano, and Michigan, a little bit farther back, but Steve Clinkscales, who was the defensive backs coach here under Tommy Tuberville.
So pretty much take your pick.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, it seems like they put their big time stick into it. Obviously, it's going to be one that seems that it's going to take a little while now, but I mean, one where Bearcats are right there. They're in the thick of things. They brought them in for, the hometown hero day. It's going to be an exciting time to see what kind of recruits are able to kind of peek through, because a lot of 4 stars, a lot of high 3 stars. Everything is changing. A lot of them 5 stars getting offered as well. Things are changing here in Cincinnati, and it's all heading in the right direction.
And before we get done with football recruiting, just a reminder, there is a junior day for the non-locals. We had, not this past weekend, but the weekend prior was the hometown hero event for the 12 locals that they kind of have at the top of their board for 2023. This coming weekend is a larger scale junior day with a lot of out of town, be it throughout the state of Ohio, throughout the region, nationally. So Mick will be, as you would expect, all over that and letting us know what the word is from the latest junior day for the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Aaron, anything else on recruiting before we slowly segue our way into football talk and then hop into that 513shirts.com mailbag?
Let's go ahead.
I was just going to say that this would be another spot where if you were sponsoring the timestamps, this would be another spot where you could have your business read here. So we're going to mark that at 108. 108 on this new timestamp. This is so much fun, guys.
I'm glad you're enjoying this, Aaron. You were the one that had the most resistance on this timestamp thing.
Oh no, I was all in all the time, all the way.
I'm glad you're buying it. I'm glad you're being a team player. I appreciate your ability to adapt and adjust.
2 feet in, 10 toes down.
Yeah.
Aaron Smith is fired up. Chad, what were you about to say before we rolled on?
Let's move through this football part quick because we're already pretty deep.
Right. It's pretty exciting to see the staff was made. The staff moves were made official today. So you did see Walt Stewart out on the trail. Posted a picture. Looks like at Taft High School. Hitch also in a picture. Looks like he was at Winton Woods. Yet again, we've talked about the staff enough. So a lot of excitement there with the new moves. Excited to see how they are able to morph in and put things together. Obviously, as recruiting is in the forefront leading into spring football. So a lot more talk on that front. But aside from that, Chad, you dropped your 2 deep offense. Not much surprise there.
I think the offensive 2 deep is pretty chalk, right?
Yeah.
And that's indicative of the fact that we think the offense has a chance to be really good. And there's a lot coming back, a lot of weapons coming back. You're going to have a spirited quarterback battle that you're going to have 2 guys pushing each other every day to elevate their level of success, their level of opportunity.
Right.
You've got great depth and talent at wide receiver, tight end, running back, the offensive line. is a veteran group with new eyes coming into the room, which I think is oftentimes a good thing, as long as you hire the right guy, which I think with Mike Cummings, there's a very good chance that's true. I'm excited about the offense. I don't know that there's a ton to discuss because I think that 2 deep is what we expected. I've been doing my research on what to do for the defensive 2 deep.
Right.
I don't know that I'm actually going to release a 2 deep. I think I'm just going to have to do position by position. Like, these are the names that I expect to be competing for competition. Because there's so many guys that are going to have a chance to have a big spring, to have a big summer, and all of a sudden go into camp and be in position to make a play. Like, I'll tell you, this is how wild things are, right?
Right.
We're pretty confident Deshaun Pace and Ty Van Fossen are going to be like mainstays at the dollar position, used to be the sniper position. In talking to people, I've gotten glowing reports on Leroy Bowers.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's potentially going to be a guy that's going to try to find his way, whether it's at dollar, whether it's at will, whether he's going to be a guy that's forcing his way up the depth chart. Byron Threats that we talked to Brady about. Like, it has been an animal in the weight room. And, you've got Jacob Dingo, you've got Will Adams, you've got Javon Hicks, who's going to be the veteran, the leader of that group. But does Threats make that, the decision infinitely harder? Where does Jaheim Thomas go? Is he a Mike linebacker? Is he a Will linebacker? Who are the backups on the defensive line? What do they do with Arquan Bush? Does he stay in the nickel? Does he go to field? Who becomes the guy at the boundary? Like, just defensively, man. Offense was like 2 or 3 conversations.
Right.
And everybody that I talked to was pretty much in agreement on offense. This is what our day 1 spring 2 deep looks like.
Right.
Everybody on defense was like, look, here's what I think. But if I told you today, this is what it looks like the first 2 reps, with first team and second team reps of spring, you're probably going to have multiple answers wrong. Right. Because we're not sure yet, because we have to sort through this and figure out what the scheme is going to look like. I still think they're 3-3-5 is their primary base. I do think with D-line depth, you could potentially see more 4-2-5. You could see them do something a little different in terms of how they play the nickel. Everything's on the table, basically, from what I've heard. So if everything's on the table, that means projecting who goes where is playing a game of chess It's playing a game of chess blindfolded.
Yeah. Bobby Fischer could do it. Aaron. So that raises the question. Offensively, I think you would obviously just say the only question is who's going to push ahead and seize the starting quarterback role. But what's going to be your favorite kind of defensive storyline as far as it goes 2 deep depth chart, especially something that you're going to really keep a keen eye on in the spring practice?
I mean, I think it's going to be the secondary because that's where the biggest question marks are once you get past, the guys that are coming back. So that's going to be where you see maybe the most action, where you see maybe the most trying something out and seeing who starts to just rise up above the competition. And I don't know that I could be more excited about seeing, especially some of the young kids coming in that have been, some of the higher recruits of Cincinnati's history. Like, I'm going to be completely honest. I can't wait to see JQ Hardaway on the field. Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a dude. So we'll see. But like I said, I mean, there's more question marks at secondary, I think, than definitely at defensive line and even linebacker. So
Yeah. Well, so Leroy Bowers, you mentioned him, Chad. You can kind of tell by the end of the year when the upperclassmen are starting to mention him a little bit more. I saw him kind of being talked about in like a Wired Wednesday here or there. It just seems like when he's out in the forefront, he found his way onto special teams. He's making an impact on kickoff. That's when you see those players take that next step of growth. So, yeah, he's definitely a name that I have been keen on as well. But as far as it goes with these new coaches being implemented, last year was kind of, you knew the two deep on the defense. You knew who the studs were. You knew who were going to be the leaders of the defense. Do these new coaches come in and it's somewhat of a blank slate, if you will, or is it kind of, Hitch and Tress as the co-defensive coordinators kind of are telling, Walt and Kerry Combs and everyone else that is being implemented into the system, hey, these are the guys that we kind of know that are going to be there.
No,
But
because
look out for these guys with the growth.
I don't think at corner,
Right.
You're going to have Kerry come in and just say, hey, give us a look and see what you think. Like,
See what you got, yeah. Right.
Like Jaquan Shepard has really only ever played boundary because he's just that long, rangy. But is he your guy? Is he your lockdown guy? Like, is it Sammy, who might be the most talented of the bunch?
Yeah, he makes good plays. Yeah.
Is it Bumpus, who might be the most consistent? Like the Sammy Anderson Todd Bumpus dynamic is always fascinating to me because I think Sammy has the higher ceiling, and this has the lower floor, or the higher. The floor is already pretty high for Todd Bumpus because technically he does everything the way you want him to do. Right. One of those guys get a look at the boundary or get a chance to win the boundary. Is Justin Harris back 100% healthy? Where does he fit? You have Taj Ward, who's kind of been a Swiss Army knife, can play safety, can play nickel. And Arquan Bush is, again, does he stay at nickel? Does he go to field? So JQ, where does he fit when he comes in? There's a lot of intrigue at corner that Kerry's going to have to sort through when he officially gets here, which I'm guessing just because of contract stuff, from what I've heard, it's that we won't hear about that one until February 1st, just from some rumblings that I've caught. Walt at outside linebacker, like I said, you're loaded at sniper.
Yeah.
And at the will, the other, and they consider that more of an inside backer in their scheme. If he helps out there as well, you got Jaheim, Jack Dingle. Huber is a guy that can play either spot.
Jones.
Where does Ivan Pace fit? Where does David Jones fit? Like, there's just a lot of moving parts that until these guys get out there and compete and start to separate, which is what you hope happens, right?
Yeah.
If they start to separate, that's either a great problem or you got issues.
That's what I'm excited.
Their game, or you're not as good as you think you're going to be.
Right. Well, no, that's why I asked that, because what if Westside Jesus comes in and one of these corners see it as a chance for him to showcase what he's got?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Kerry's like, wow, this guy was underneath your nose the entire time. And, wow, he has the potential to be big time. So, yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of questions left unanswered, but.
Well, and you also have the question of how many of these guys did Kerry really get to know recruiting? Where now he's coming in with the previous relationship, from maybe recruiting this kid before.
Justin Harris was like, he saw him as a blue chip guy, and I don't know.
They monitored Sammy throughout his process, and he has a belief that that stuff all plays into it. That stuff is all going to continue to be fascinating when we get into spring. Like, I'm not missing a second of spring football, and I'm not spending a ton of time watching quarterbacks.
No.
That stuff's going to play out. Like, it's going to play out as a nature of just watching spring practice. We're going to watch the quarterback thing play out. I'm not wasting your time doing nothing but quarterbacks because there are so many other more interesting or involved, layered decisions that have to be made in so many other spots.
Yeah.
Aaron, I'll let you can. I know you live in Athens now, but if you can make it down a couple times a week, I'll let you watch the quarterbacks.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
Thanks for that.
Got you. I got you, bro. Everybody wants to hear about the quarterbacks. If you're the quarterback competition whisperer, that increases your brand.
Well, we'll see how this week plays out. I got some
will
things
be.
going on, so we'll see how this week plays out.
It will be
All right.
awesome, though, to see in the spring game. And then, of course, I think Camp Higher Ground will be where you'll really start to see the quarterback battle. Because does someone separate at that point? Or is it going to be, really this is a two-man race heading into it? I'll be interested to see kind of when the spring game rolls around, you'll be able to get somewhat of a pulse, especially with the insider knowledge that you have, Chad, who might really kind of be separating themselves or kind of jockeying themselves for that top spot. So we'll see. We will see.
All right, so 121. Again, if you were sponsoring the timestamps, this would be where we would talk about your business. So 121 is that football timestamp. God, I love timestamps.
I'm going to, when we get a sponsor for this, you are also going to have to do the sponsor read.
I assume
this is part of your job.
Sure, yes.
I'll give you more money if you do the reads. How's that?
I mean, that's how sponsors go, yeah.
No, that's not how owners have to go, right? Like, there's owners all over the country that make a lot of money and don't give any of it to their employees.
Right.
I could be that guy, but you guys both know I'm not that guy.
You're just not that guy. Hey, you're not that guy.
Well,
You're just not that guy.
I'm not like John Stockton because he's not allowed to go to games.
You're just not that guy. Believe me, you're not that guy.
Are we on to the mailbag then?
Let's 513 shirts mailbag it.
All right.
Tell us a little bit more about 513 shirts.
Well, all orders over $45, you get free shipping. Enter code BCJ for 10% off, 15% off on the Malik Van collection, and
20% off the Bengals collection right now because the Bengals are on a roll.
So there you have it, folks. So the 513 shirts mailbag. First question in the mailbag. We're going to start with football as we always do. Comes from everyone's favorite UC Merck. I think this would be interesting for you all to predict the 2022 regular season record. I'll update and ask after spring ball and then right before the season. There's more as I'm pulling it up. We'll see who will have the bragging rights between 3 and Dave if he cares to join. This is just like how the questions at Buffalo Wild Wings would be. 5 if you are right on this go round, 4 if you're correct after spring ball, 3 if you're correct after higher ground, 2 if you get it correct before conference starts, and 1 if you get it correct after the first 8 games. Can do it similar for basketball starting next year.
I don't work for you, Merck. Do you know how much homework? Like I joke.
I'm saying I think he's going to keep score.
Oh, of course. That's my problem. Do you know how much homework this entails to be able to accurately do something like this? Like when we get to the point that we're doing our preseason preview, there's hours of reading other teams' depth charts and listening to their podcasts and figuring out where their people think they're going to be at, to get it right. If I guess a number right now, it is a wild guess.
But I mean, how far off? How much are you gonna? He's asking for 6 different predictions.
Yeah, that's why it's a job.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, how? Are you going to go from they're going to be 7 and 5, and then no, they're going to be 8 and 4.
Maybe if I did the job properly.
I don't think it's going to flow that much. I think the optimist in me doesn't have much further to go
Well,
up.
that's
once I
because
start
you're
with a
not
high
going to
number.
do the research. You're just going to go high.
I already did the research. They have a very a very doable non-conference schedule, and then that morphs into an AAC play where
How doable? Missionary, doggy style,
oh jeez,
Yikes.
reverse cowgirl.
Didn't even see that coming with this question.
I mean, if I have to pick the out of conference, maybe something with a little bit of challenge that if it all succeeds all the way through, then it was the best ride of your life. I don't know. So
How did we get here?
I'll let Aaron dive
because
into
I
that
always
and come up
take
with the
things
correct
off. Like
answer. But
I take things off the rails. It's what I do.
I mean, what? So you look at the out of conference. It's at Arkansas. Tough.
They've been. I think I saw today they were ranked number 4 in transfer portal additions. They have been very aggressively active. I think the biggest thing for Arkansas is they kept Kendall Briles. They managed to keep him from going to Miami.
Right. Exactly. And that's obviously, a hot commodity in the coaching scene. Whenever it happens, it's, if you're able to hold on to him, that's a big one. And then it's Kennesaw State. If either of you could tell me their mascot, I'll send you a cookie. And then it's versus the Red Hawks at Paul Brown Stadium. And then it's against IU at home. I mean,
Looks like it's the Owls.
wow. Good Google search by you. But you know what? If you cheat and you somehow figure out your way through, college or high school, and you got good grades, then hey, you made it. So you cheated and you got it right. So I'll send you a cookie. But I mean, the out of conference is not obscene. It's not something that you look at and you're like, oh gosh, 2 tough road games. Let's hope a young team can maneuver their way through getting to 3-1. This is like they are going to be 3-1. And if they can come out of the gates with some sort of magic, then they can easily find their way to 4-0. Because it seems like the Red Hawks are losing players left and right to the transfer portal.
Cam Butler just left. They lost Ivan Pace. Like, they're in trouble talent-wise.
You also know that even if they weren't, they're not going to play their starters. So whatever.
Right.
And then,
well, all the guys they were going to rest just transferred, so they should be all right.
Yeah, they should be at full strength. I agree. And I mean, the Indian Hoosiers, they are who we thought they were by the end of the season. So I don't know. We'll see. Just seems like it's something that after that first game, you can kind of maneuver your way through. I don't know exact number on the final record, but
I think what we know from what we've heard, the conference is going to take all of the schedule from this year and just flip it. Which means you're going to have some tough road games in the American. But UCF, SMU?
Yeah, road trip to UCF, road trip to SMU.
Tulsa.
Road trip to Tulsa. And then it would be road trip to
home,
Temple.
Tulane at home.
The Navy, Tulane, USF, and ECU at home.
So there's 4 wins at home.
Yeah.
You figure you win the 3 out-of-conference games at home. There's 6, 7. And then you have 4 road games right now, before a snap of spring ball, before having any idea what the defensive 2 deep even remotely looks like. For you, Mark, because I love you, I'll go 9-3.
Good starting point for all of us. I'm okay with 9-3.
I'll take 10-2.
Oh, the optimist!
You played right into his hands, you dumb son of a bitch.
All right, next question, because we took an awful long time on that one. Between recruiting and spring practice, what are the chances that you can get Luke on a pod?
We usually do a sit down with Luke right before spring football. I don't see any reason why that would change. To have him on a pod, probably pretty low because we record these things, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Much easier for me to get up there, set up the camera, and do an interview with Luke in person. And he hates hates Zoom. I'm sure he'd hate StreamYard if given the chance.
I agree.
I would upset him if I requested a video chat meeting when there's an opportunity to go interview him in person. So look for an interview with Luke before spring football starts. A podcast, probably not. So subscribe to the Bearcat Journal YouTube channel.
And,
There you go.
and you know what? Brady Collins is not a half bad backup, huh?
Right. And I know this question is coming. We are supposed to get the new coaches February 2nd for interview opportunities. So next week, we're supposed to hear from the new staff.
All right, Los Cake, Lusakake, whatever, however you pronounce his name, I don't even know. Update on Caden's visit. I know we talked about that a little bit here, so anything else to add on that then?
Mick will have an article soon.
There you go. The BBP staff's prediction for breakout player in each of the 3 areas, offense, defense, special teams in 2022. Apologize if this was covered in a previous mailbag.
I just don't know, man. I just don't know.
Well, we can do it now, and then we can
offense.
do it.
Offense. I'll go Jaden Thompson.
That's a good one.
Aaron?
I'm gonna go Ethan Wright.
Okay. I'll go.
Ben Bryant. I knew you would, Brent.
No, I am not putting my name on any of that quarterback talk. Let's go, man. I actually was going to say Jaden because just the way people talk about him. But not straying away from what both of you guys said. Ryan Montgomery. I think he turns into a potential 800 to 1,000 yard back.
So then we'll let you go first on defense since Chad took your defense. What you got on defense?
Breakout player defense. Let's go with. I mean, did Jawan Briggs break out last year? I mean, can you
towards the end of the
breakout?
no.
Towards the end of the season, maybe
He had a couple good games, but I wouldn't say
Right.
he broke out.
Yeah,
I mean, I think he's going to just dominate the AAC next year. With the way that towards the end of the year he was having those big games, I just think it took that little bit of adjustment, kind of like what Darian Beavers went through when he kind of, just playing without thinking. I think Briggs will kind of be able to just use that power and strength and everything that he has, and I think he'll become just an absolute mainstay and have the breakout.
who you got, Chad?
You go ahead. We're going reverse with snake draft.
I think I'm gonna take Arquan.
Okay.
Good pick.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you got.
So, yeah, I mean, with some of the guys that have left from the secondary, he's got a real chance to step up. He had some real big opportunities in some games this season to where he was making a big play in a moment where they needed him to, and now more so even with Sauce gone, with Kobe gone, with Cook gone. I think there's going to be a real opportunity for him to shine in that secondary as a leader and just as a guy making plays all over the place. So I think as long as he stays healthy, Arquan's got a real opportunity.
I'm going Jabari Taylor. I think there has been a guy the past couple of years that has jumped up to surprise us that we didn't really expect. Elijah Ponder 2 years ago.
Big Kurt.
Curtis Brooks this year. I think Jabari Taylor has been limited in what he's been able to show because the depth ahead of him has been so insanely talented. I think, and I don't like, here's what I expect. And this is I'll give you a small preview of my 2 deep, quote unquote, because it's not going to be a 2 deep at all. I think you'll see Jabari Taylor, Jawan Briggs, Malik Van as your starting 3 down linemen in their base look. I don't know who will be inside. I don't know who will be outside. I wonder how much they plan to use that to their advantage, being able to shuffle those guys around. But I think Jabari Taylor has been the sleeping giant in that defensive line room just because he's been blocked. And I expect a big, big season from Jabari.
All right, special teams.
Ryan Coe, I'm in first. Yes.
Aaron?
I'll go the rake.
He was great this year. He's not a break. He was great as a
out.
freshman.
I don't think I think he's gonna. I think next year you'll look back at this year and be like, oh, so the Alabama game was actually the preview for what we're gonna get this year. Because I think that there was an evolution from where he started and even mid-season to where he finished the season at. And I think the more that Brady gets his hands on him, the more he's going to mold that body into a finely tuned punting machine where we no longer refer to him as the rake, but maybe as like the weed whacker.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Very good. I'm going to go with okay, so I think Tyler Scott will have a kickoff return for a touchdown this year.
A kickoff. He's going to be the kick. He's going to overtake Trey Tucker
No,
as the kickoff return guy.
they're both going to be back there.
Well, I mean, like he had like 3 opportunities this year, Tyler.
Yeah, about probably 7.
Okay.
I just think he'll take one to the house.
Okay.
But he's not my breakout guy. My breakout guy will be Isaiah Cox, and the reason is because there always is that one player on kickoff team, on punt team, that kind of catches your eye. And
here's the thing. Here's where you might be right on that. Because they played their starters so much on those teams,
yeah,
there might be more open spots on special teams than there is anywhere else.
Well,
because they lost guys from both sides of the ball that made impact on special teams.
Right. And, Royer's gone, who was a mainstay. Copa's gone, who was a mainstay. You've got openings for these players to kind of show themselves. And when you have a player like Isaiah Cox, who has been mentioned so many times by Brady Collins and by the staff that they love his future. I mean, Leroy Bowers was starting to make his name at the end of the year on special teams.
If I was going with somebody on defense that's kind of fighting for a spot, I would probably go Bowers.
Right.
Over Cox.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't hate it. I'm just saying.
Right.
I think the interesting thing to me on special teams, because they're going to be like starters and so important to everything you do, do we still see Trey Scott and Trey Tucker as the gunners?
Return guys.
Because they were the best gunners in the country for my money on punt coverage.
Yeah, and I mean, are you going to see Josh Wiley out there still?
Right.
I
don't think you're going to be able to get Josh off special teams. That's just who he is.
Right. No, I agree. I think Cox. Brian Threats obviously was a player that did a lot on special teams towards the end of the year as well. So, Cox, let's go with him.
All right. What is Cummings' basic philosophy on how he wants to scheme offensive line play, and does it differ from what Crook has been teaching? Any chance for a quick interview with he and Walter anytime soon? We did just talk about that February 2nd is going to be that opportunity to talk with the new coaches. So
get them in, develop them, get them drafted. Boom.
All right. Who wins in the Rafters pull-up competition between Westside Jesus and Coach Luke Fickle?
I don't know, man. Like, if you watch
the big guy,
after like 4 or 5 of those pull-ups, Luke was getting a little winded.
He was a little gassed.
But supposedly they said that they were cheering a bunch before, so he was already tired. So
possibly, I'll still go Luke. Now, if you give me Walt or Luke, I'll take Walt.
But it does seem like the smaller guys can really pump out a bunch of pull-ups.
Yeah, maybe Carey could just rip off like 20 of them
after snorting Red Bull.
Yeah. I don't know how you do that, but it sounds refreshing.
I don't either, but I feel like that's what he does. I don't know. All right. In what areas must this coaching staff improve in order to become a top 5 program?
Where are they deficient? Where have they been deficient? We need to see better tackle play. I think we all agree on that.
And the jury's out on if the coaching staff improved there or not.
Yeah. We've seen outstanding quarterback play. We've seen excellent improvement from that wide receiver room. The running back position has been outstanding. They're going to have guys drafted at every level of the defense. I think they just need to keep building. Like, need to keep what we have seen. Here's the thing. What we have seen in recruiting from Luke's first year is step over step over step over step improved recruiting classes each year. Now we are going to get to see what that glut of talent that was below the surface from those first 2 recruiting classes looks like.
Right.
And that's exciting.
You'll also get to see what this staff can do recruiting with the Big 12 label for a full year under their belt.
Sure.
Because we still haven't seen what that looks like in its full 1-year capacity.
Yeah. For sure.
So, which group is more likely to retain its top 15 status in 2022, offense or defense?
Offense. We just talked about, like, we know, so there's so much more known about the offense than there is about the defense.
A lot less pieces.
Cornerback position.
A lot less new pieces.
Yeah, offense.
That's all I gotta say. Cornerback.
When do Coach Luke Fickell and crew actually take their vacations and escape? Does Amy let Luke make recruiting calls while on vacation? What about the other coaches? Can we get some vacation and time away stories from any members of the coaching staff? Okay, we know we will get Brady's.
One, no, because I'm not getting it. I'm not prying into their personal lives. Like,
Luke, tell us about the beach.
Tell me about what you and your wife do while the kids are asleep on vacation. Generally, if you want to know when the coaches take vacation, it's when there's dead periods. So when recruiting stops, vacation starts is kind of how it goes. Except for, like, you know, the specific bowl process. That's you know, there's a period like in the summer where at the end of June, you can no longer have camps, and that is like the downtime between the end of June and the start of higher ground in August. That's a big vacation time. There's a vacation time at the end of spring football, where maybe you can get a week away or whatever. So if you look at the recruiting calendar and you look at the dead periods, that's generally when coaches get away. And one of the reasons is it's a dead period, so there's not as many recruiting calls. Like, in a dead period, a recruit can call you, but you can't call a recruit. So is Luke, you know, if Josh Wiley called Luke while he was on vacation during a dead period, my guess is he's going to take that call.
Yeah.
But he's not sitting there making 40 recruiting calls while the Fickell family is on a beach in Florida.
I always pictured him as a endless drinks guy in Mexico, but that was just
no. They're a vacation, like, rent out your own private beach. They got 6 kids, bro.
Yeah,
they're not hauling everybody to
Mexico. That's why I would go all inclusive, where you just let them eat all day long while you're just drinking all day long. That's just saying.
I think they like getting a really, really nice house in Florida that can accommodate like 3 families, and they just use it for the Fickell family.
Gotcha. All right. You guys accidentally talked about it last week. Who on the 2022 team do you think gets drafted in the 23-24 drafts?
You know, I had a very interesting conversation on this tonight. At this point last year, if somebody had asked that question, the easy answers would have been Dez, Sauce, and Micah, right? Mm-hmm. What if I had told you last year at this point in time that Brian Cook was on track? Like, I think Brian Cook's going to be a 3rd round, 4th round at best or at worst guy. Darian Beaver's kind of the same. You told me I was a crazy person.
Well, last year, this time, we thought Wiley was done here after last year.
Right.
Like, we thought he was in the draft.
Jerome Ford is the number one name for me in that
Yeah.
scenario.
I still think Cook is probably more for me than anybody. Outside of the Peach Bowl, like that was a glimpse of like, this is a dude. But the Peach Bowl was also a glimpse that Jerome Ford ran away from an SEC defense.
Right.
It gave him the Tyreek Hill. So, like, it's so hard to predict. Like, Jabari Taylor, Javon Hicks, I think
Jawan
fit in that
Briggs.
mold. Jawan Briggs, Wilson Huber. Like, we're talking about Beavers getting drafted. Huber's got all of those traits that that could see him be a guy that's an NFL backer. Right now, I would say there's a lot of guys that probably project to late round, undrafted, get a shot at training camp. But I thought there were probably 3 or 4 or 5 guys that were in that spot at this point in time last year that are now on boards and have a chance to get drafted. So we'll see. That's another one of those things. Once we get into camp and we get into the season, when you start seeing the scouts show up and you start picking their brains, like, okay, this guy's gone from here to here, and this guy's moved up. You know, that's the fun part.
I mean, like Jaheim, like, what if he fills out?
Yeah, but he's probably like, well, 24 draft, I guess, covers that. Where, you know, it might not be this year, but it's the following year. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Brady mentioned additional resources to take care of his team. Is this an indication of contract extension, and do you expect to see any additional resources added for the staff?
Sure.
Good answer.
Stay tuned.
Is Crook still on the staff, and if so, what position, and how is he handling the position change with the negative implications?
Technically, yes. We'll see. I don't have a great. This is an awkward situation for Ron Crook. Like, he's an offensive line coach. He wants to coach an offensive line. If he finds that opportunity, I'm sure if it's fitting and you know, makes sense, that's where he'll be. If he needs a job, I'm sure there's a place for him here. Right now, he's still under contract with UC. We'll see how it goes. I'm not comfortable answering that because I don't want to speak for Coach Crook and where things are at in that situation. It's a terrible spot, right? Like, your boss decided the play the program needed was to go in a different direction. Right. That's gotta be a tough
punch. Yeah.
Pill to swallow. So it's one I'm not comfortable speaking on because that's a guy, as I posted on Twitter, phenomenal human being, and I don't feel great getting into it.
All right, moving on real quick past that. Was Jack Perry on scholarship?
No, he was a walk-on.
We did see that he is in the transfer portal today, so that's where that
dropped like a 40-minute highlight tape.
That's unfortunate because, God, I love Jack Perry.
Yeah, I know.
The walk-on that didn't need an NIL deal, didn't need you know, any extra things. His dad was like the number 2 person at Google for a while. So,
nice.
The Jack Perry family his dad private chartered into home games. So the Perry family is doing all right.
It's kind of a big deal.
What
would have surprised you more before the season started? The Bearcats beating Bama and then Georgia and winning the college football playoff, or the Bengals taking care of business in Kansas City and going on to win the Super Bowl?
Bengals. We saw UC play Georgia.
Yeah.
They played them to the wire.
We knew they were going to be damn near, if not undefeated, this year. So the college football playoff, if you stayed undefeated, was certainly in your sights as you looked at the schedule.
The Bengals, remember, the most difficult thing about the Bengals was obviously, one, Joe Burrow recovering from his knee injury. But two, they went out and spent $100 million on defense for 2020 and got like 7 games out of all that money that they spent because guys got hurt. So we had no clue what their additions on defense looked like. And then they added a bunch this offseason as well. So they had basically an entirely new defense. If you go just back to 2019, Aaron, you're the Bengals guy. How many guys that played defense here in 2019 are still on the roster?
I think that was the year they drafted Logan Wilson. On the defense.
No, didn't they draft Logan Wilson in 2020? Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson, wasn't that the same draft?
Yeah.
No, Wilson, this is his second year. Yeah.
Okay. Then
Yeah.
it's only his second year. I guess just him playing as well as he did this year.
Yeah, but he played in 2020, so he at least had a little bit of an idea that he could play. But I'm saying
Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
Von Bell was a 2020 edition. Your corners are all new. Trey Waynes, I think, was part of that 2020 money
Free
as well.
agency
And
class, yeah.
that's still not panning out.
But my point being,
The whole
we
defensive
had
line is new.
no fucking clue what this defense was going to be coming into this season.
Most national writers put the Bengals at 3 or 4 wins total this year.
If you go back and look, that was the thing we joked about on radio after the draft, is everybody just instinctively had Cincinnati once again drafting in the top 10.
Top 5.
Yeah. I felt like this was probably a 7-win team, but mainly because I had no clue how good they were going to be on defense. And that comes from 4 years of being absolute trash, amongst the worst defenses in the history of the NFL.
Accurate.
They won that game. They won the divisional round game against the number 1 seed Tennessee Titans in Tennessee, in Nashville, because of their defense. If you would have told me that,
you could make that same argument for the Raiders win.
If you'd have told me that in August, I would have told you you're a fucking crazy person.
I had no clue they'd be in the conference championship game. No one did. You could have left that question at playing for the conference championship.
Right.
Not even going into Kansas City and winning. And I still would have called you a raving lunatic. Drink another one. All right. How can our team start recruiting at a much higher rate in terms of players? I'm talking average rating 89-93, which is between 10 to 19th type of recruiting class with 1 to 3 5-star players. Is this doable between now and the class of 2025? Before you guys even go, I'll say you have to just keep winning at a very, very high level. It took Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State a long, long time to get to this point where they're doing this year after year. Now, Texas A&M, they're doing something completely different down there, taking huge advantage right now of the.
But you're doing it with a national championship coach, in a recruiting hotbed like Texas.
But you're also doing it taking hard advantage of the NIL deal.
Sure.
NIL rules as they are currently in place. That all said, at a school like Cincinnati, where you're not even in the Big 12 yet, you're going to continue to struggle, and only having 1 year in that CFP conversation, that makes a very, very big difference when you're going up against blue bloods. You're not going to get recruiting like the blue bloods quite yet.
2025 might be too soon, but I don't think it's out of the realm to say within the next 10 years if things continue on the current trajectory. So,
but again, that's going to take years of winning.
Right, exactly. Which, shoot, they were a field goal away from beating Georgia last year. They were a couple of big plays made to being right there with Alabama at the end as well. So, they are not literally that far off. But just keep winning. If you build it, they will come.
Just think about averaging in the 90s in recruiting. Go look at where the average rating was 6 years ago. Low 80s. 83, 84 was an awesome, best class in school history. It takes time to continue to stack that type of success. So 89 to 90. It was the average class last year was 86, 85, 86, 2 years between the last 2-3 years. And those are the greatest classes in school history.
Right.
Is it going to happen instantly? No. If you keep winning and you keep building, if you build it, they will come.
Hey.
All right, maybe my favorite question in the entire mailbag. If you accidentally put galactic sauce in your gas tank, could Danco fix the car?
Yes. I have that much faith in Joe. Yes, they could.
And they can take $90 off it too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
use that $90 that Joe's giving you and use that to buy more sauce since you misplaced it in your gas tank.
Damn it, Brian.
Any chance of Cam Butler from Miami being an option now that he just entered the portal?
I don't know yet. He just entered the portal. So
TBD.
Sacks.
Tough calf kid. I liked him from the start. Gets after the quarterback. My concern would be I don't know that he has the type of size, length they're looking for in an edge rusher, just from looking at it on the surface.
And that concludes the football portion of the 513shirts.com mailbag. Moving on to the basketball portion of the 513shirts.com mailbag. What is the status of Rob Banks?
Recovering from a knee injury.
Easy enough.
And British.
Yeah, Banksy is still British, correct. The top three refs that give Chad a headache as soon as he finds out they're doing a game. What a question.
Pat Adams. I fucking hate that. He's so bad. So bad. John Higgins is right up there.
TV Teddy?
I like Ted.
I think TV Teddy grew on me. Like, I did not like him at all.
Okay, here's the thing. He is easy to hate because he's so
flamboyant with his calls.
Flamboyant.
Yes.
But he's actually
a good official.
A good official. Like, if you're actually paying attention to his calls, he knows what he's doing. He's good.
Unless he's turning his back on you when you're trying to talk to him.
He has his ego moments, of course.
Yeah.
But I think nuts and bolts, I like TV Teddy as an official. One that we don't really see much that I think is awful is Bo Barrowski. And I'm sure Brent is very familiar.
Yeah.
Broad Ripple Bo, when I see him calling a Big Ten game, I know it's going to be a shit show.
I mean, he's pretty famous.
He sucks. He's pretty famous because he sucks. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. But I mean, Big Ten knows who Bo Barrowski is.
Yeah, I'm just saying, UC fans, he doesn't call many UC games.
Right.
So he's not going to be a name that, if you're a UC fan that's used to watching UC games, you're going to associate with that guy sucks, but he sucks. Pat Adams is my least favorite ever. That guy is so terrible. When he ran over to Wes Miller to try to start shit the other night after he made a bad call. He made a bad call. He knew it. Wes Miller was standing inside the coach's box. He was yelling at him to get out, to get back in the coach's box. Wes looks down I'm here. And he kept coming after him, trying to tee him up because he knew he fucking made a bad call. That's the worst thing an official can do, in my book, is make a bad call and then double down trying to give you a tee because they know it's a fucking bad call. I hate it. And he's so that guy, it reignited the other night. Luckily, it was a 25-point game for most of the second half, so I didn't have to really worry about him, but he sucks ass.
Boom. All right. Very early into the Wes Miller tenure, Chad, you suggested he asked you if there was a good part of town to live in terms of its impact on recruiting. What did you tell him? And without doxing him, did he generally heed your advice?
I told him it doesn't matter in basketball in Cincinnati because there's not specifically this is where the talent comes from. Sometimes it's in the public schools. Sometimes it's at Moeller. Sometimes it's out on the outskirts. So there really wasn't an answer as to like, football, like tie yourself to the GCL somewhere, or tie yourself to Coleraine or Winton Woods or somewhere like that. Like in football, it's pretty simple. In basketball, it's so sporadic that there's not really an answer.
All right.
And yes, I think he heeded my advice by not deciding to live anywhere simply based on what might randomly help him in recruiting.
Does a win against Houston do enough to make the NCAA tournament, or do we need a good run in the AAC tournament?
So, it's a very interesting question because if you beat Houston,
We talking on the road or at home?
I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter.
I agree. I don't think it matters at all.
It doesn't matter. If you beat Houston, you add a second top 10 net resume win. And as we've talked about, the bubble is going to stink because the bubble stinks. That's what it does. It stinks. It's a stinky bubble every year. It's like a fart enclosed in a ball of soap. A ball of soap. That's what bubbles are, right? They're bubbles. Like it's just a ball of soap. Yeah. It's a fart. It's a fart enclosed in a ball of soap. The bubble stinks.
Only if Aaron is holding the little bubble machine right there.
I just immediately couldn't stop thinking about that girl who recently, because she had like a stroke or a heart attack or something, stopped.
She was farting into jars and selling them on the internet.
So hire her to BCJ. Aaron did the bubbles out.
I don't need any part of any of that. Get me out of here.
Okay. If you have, like, if Cincinnati gets to like 20, 21, 22 wins and has a neutral site win over Illinois and any win over Houston, boy, you'd have a very difficult time leaving them out because they would have two monster wins and making the tournament is about wins.
Yeah.
So,
especially if like Wichita State sneaks into a quad one win. I mean,
I don't even care about that. Like, if you have two top 10 wins,
right,
the rest of that shit doesn't fucking matter for the most part.
And the good thing is you can fluff up your record a little bit with, hopefully 2 wins this week.
Yeah, like you just, if you don't collapse, like if you get to the finish line with 21, 22 wins and 2 of them are Houston and Illinois,
right,
you're probably going to be in.
All right.
Crazy to say that.
Crazy. Does redshirting count as one of the 13? And what do you think Wes would do if a high 4-star or 5-star wanted to come to UC other than these things work out?
Redshirting does not count as one of the 13. And the roster takes care of itself. Like, you guys spend way too much time worrying about the number. We talk about it every year. What's the number? How many? What's it? What? I'm so concerned. It always works itself out. Always.
But doesn't redshirting counts towards one of the 13?
Of course, yeah. I said first thing off, redshirting counts.
Yeah.
If you're on scholarship, you count.
Right. I misheard.
But other than that, like, don't stress it. It will work itself out one way or the other.
But I think it's safe to say that the core has gotten a lot more promising.
Sure.
Throughout the season. So
yeah. This isn't the point a couple weeks ago where people were asking for a roster enema, which just sounds gross.
Agreed. Immediately. Given we were 14-5, is 9-3 to finish the regular season and 1-1 in the AAC tournament good enough to dance? That's 24-9, assuming a home win over Houston or Memphis. In your answer,
Memphis isn't going to matter right now.
So 9-3. So that would be a win over Memphis, and then the 3 losses are at home to Houston, at Houston, and then at SMU.
Yeah, that's probably not going to get you in.
No.
You didn't win either of the Houston games. You lost at SMU. You go, no, that's probably not going to get you in.
Stinky bubble.
That'd be what,
There's
24
there's your
and
podcast
9,
title.
yeah.
Fart bubble.
Any smoke surrounding Amari Abram?
Not really. Jerry throws 35 names a year on the board, and I love Jerry. I don't a 6'4" guard like that. You just recruited Amari Abram, Superior, and Daniel Skillings. I think right now, if you're looking at adding something, it's a transfer big when we get to the offseason.
SMU has reeled off. I was combining that with real.
That's so SMU is so good. Like that's perfect.
Pretty good, yeah. S Mustang.
For the ponies, yeah, SMU.
The Mustangs.
I might have to keep that as a running joke. But SMU has reeled off 11-12 wins and sits in second at 5-1. A win at Temple puts the Cats a half game behind them and alone in third place. So they get it done in Philly.
Maybe. I feel better about it than I did at the start of this podcast.
A lot of rust for the Owls.
Who?
I see what you did there.
The Temple Owls. The
Who?
Who's?
Who?
Yeah.
Who?
Dad jokes are plenty on this podcast. Jesus. Is there any update on Newman? Realistic expectations for Rayvon?
No. And they're in the mix.
Rayvon.
They're in the mix for Rayvon. Like they're doing a really good job selling Cincinnati to him, staying home to him, and with the move to the Big 12, there are some kids that don't like that. There are some kids that don't want that. I don't know that if he's one or not. He's listening. He's been very responsive, and moving to the Big 12, which right now is clearly the most complete basketball conference in the country, has some appeal.
Definitely better than the shitty AAC. We can, I think, safely say that. That concludes the basketball portion of the 513shirts.com mailbag.
Let's go.
Moving on to the final round where Skins thrives. But UC Merck beat him to it. Who gets the real blame for no nightcap on Saturday, or is it 50-50? I will say I called Chad when I was still sober-ish. I finished the night hammered.
That's all me. I had my dad and my stepmom over. We watched the game, had some dinner. Kelly and I were hanging out. There wasn't any UC news on Saturday of any relevance. I figured everybody was kind of in Bengals mode. I wanted to hang out with my wife. Aaron called and said,
"Told me to go party."
Aaron called and said, "Hey, I'm willing to do this before I go back out." I said, "Go back out." He did not try to beg out of it. There was no passing out on his couch as we saw a week prior.
It was someone else's couch.
Oh. At that point in time, you were still awake.
I was with my friends. So
yeah. So I told him to go party with his friends. I hung out with my wife, and we got back after it last night.
Clearly, still drinking water, recovering.
Here's the thing, man. In most weeks, we're gonna take a fucking day off from the nightcap.
When there's nothing
in most weeks. Yeah. If there's a slow night and there's I'm not going to force, you guys know this about me. We could have 20 more content items on the board every day, but I'm not feeding you bullshit just to feed you bullshit. Like, I'm not going to put something up on the front page that's one tweet, copy and pasted, and like a paragraph underneath it just to get you to click. That's not what we do. We produce real content about real stuff. And if there's not anything to talk about, I'm not throwing up a nightcap just because there's supposed to be a nightcap every night. Like,
all we would have talked about was probably home field apparel. And how much more did you guys want to hear about home field apparel at that point?
And they're not a sponsor of the nightcap.
Right.
Galactic Fried Chicken is. So, no, I decided, I made the executive decision that there was no nightcap on Saturday, and I told Aaron to go party with his friends.
All right, Skins coming in. Continuing the trend of Well, shit. Someone famous died. Here's my question. With Louis Anderson dying, I want to ask, who is your favorite comedian of all time? Follow-up question. Has anyone had a better comedy run than Eddie Murphy from 82 to 92? He went on a run with SNL, 48 Hours, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, Golden Child, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Raw, Coming to America, Harlem Nights, another 48 Hours, and The Distinguished Gentleman. P.S. Aaron, what route do you take from Athens to Cincinnati? 35 or 32? And what kind of car do you drive? Asking for a friend. If I'm going from my mom's house, which I was there for dinner on Sunday, I take 32 out from, 35 out from Washington Courthouse. If I'm coming from downtown, I'd take 32.
And what kind of car?
Honda Civic.
Oh man, he's hunting you down.
Murdered out.
So one, how the fuck did you forget Delirious in the Eddie Murphy list of credits skins?
The discography or the videography.
Filmography. Yeah.
I mean, I love Raw, but Delirious is just as funny and just as timeless if you watch Delirious today, how good both of those are. For most of my life, it's been Eddie Murphy because Raw and Delirious just shaped me. And I love Richard Pryor. That was a big one growing up for me as well. As I've gotten older, I've done more listening to George Carlin, who was so right about life. If you're young and you haven't really dug back into old George Carlin, you have to. Right now, Bert Kreischer probably moves the needle for me more than anybody. Although I've gotten into, I was never a big female comic fan until recently because I think their impact on the craft is exploding. Whitney Cummings and Taylor Tomlinson crack me up. So that's where I'm at on comedy right now. I love Two Bears, One Cave. The comedy podcast scene is phenomenal right now. Kreischer, Segura, Theo Vaughn is really funny. There's a bunch of them.
So weird the leap he made from Real World.
Yeah.
And the challenges to where he's at now.
Oh, Theo Vaughn is hilarious.
So weird.
His little videos that he posts on Instagram are just hilarious. For me, it's Chappelle. I'm not a big
Chappelle, of course. I don't know how I left Chappelle. Chappelle, of course.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm just not a big stand-up comedian kind of guy.
I'll lay in bed and watch stand-up stuff for 2 hours.
Right.
I feel like cancel culture has made comedy such a hard thing anymore. That where a lot of comedians are afraid of flirting with the danger zone. So there's so much.
I'm drawn to the ones that are right into the danger zone.
But even with comedy movies, no one's putting out comedy movies like they used to.
Nothing's funny anymore.
So I guess I don't know. I mean, I still kind of go back to growing up during Will Ferrell and Seth Rogen as they were coming into their own, and Seth I think had such a big impact and did so many different movies, and same with Will. I think those are probably my top two.
Are they able to be thrown into it? Because
they're comedians.
They're comedians.
Okay. Well then, yeah, those guys for me too. Oh man, Seth Rogen. I went and saw Pineapple Express on the midnight that it came out. Just died laughing. I
don't think they do as much stand up as they but they're still comedians.
Yeah,
I think with Seth Rogen, This Is the End might be my favorite comedy movie that he did.
Ridiculous.
It was so absurd on so many levels.
Oh yeah.
And then
Superbad is an all-time comedy movie for me.
It's so
The Hangover.
fun.
But still, if it's a stand-up, Chappelle, because I don't watch a lot, but I watched one in college, and I was just dying laughing.
The guy's a master at the craft.
The Christmas movie he did with Falcon from the Marvel series, and the other kid from Third Rock from the Sun is maybe one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time.
I quote Half Baked in every show we do.
Yeah. All right. When the Bengals beat Kansas City this weekend and head to the Super Bowl, do we want to see Bengals versus Niners Part 3 or Bengals versus Rams? Tentative movie titles for Part 3 of San Francisco: Saint Joe Exacts Revenge or Joe Who?
Yeah, see, I think that's the thing. Like, it has to be San Francisco.
Yeah.
Because of extracting all the demons of Bengals past.
Well,
and as somebody said to me in my mentions when I posed this yesterday, we have Montana now.
Well, I think when you go back to the Raiders win and you exercise the curse of Bo Jackson
curse, and then no
now
wins
you have
on the road.
Now you have the opportunity to potentially get a rematch of San Francisco. Absolutely, I want that.
And
Here's the other
Garoppolo
thing.
chokes. Go
ahead. Brent, how many times has the Cincinnati Bengals lost in the AFC Championship game?
0 would be my guess. Twice in the
2-0,
Super Bowl,
baby.
both to the Niners.
2-0 in the AFC Championship game.
But you can't leave Patrick Mahomes with even 13 seconds, or he's going to go 44 yards, kick a field goal, and then
or squib kick it.
Win a coin toss, and game's over.
Mo made a great point.
No 30 yards.
Mo made a great point. Remember the Chiefs game?
Yeah.
When the Bengals ran out the last 7 minutes
like,
and elected to not give Kansas City 1 second.
Not one.
Yeah.
Not 1 second. Not one. Now you know why.
And they needed a lucky call here or there, too.
Of course, but that's how it works.
Right.
Like,
to your point there, Brent, absolutely they should have squib kicked it. What the hell were they thinking not squib kicking it?
And then giving a
I mean, I guess what happens though, you just catch it down
field position.
Well, yeah, you're taking a chance of if you squib kick it, they jump on it to 35 and like just catch it, go straight down. Because the clock doesn't. Here's I think the biggest mistake: the clock doesn't start on the kick.
It starts when the ball hits the field. So if you
no,
when someone else touches it,
it starts when somebody touches it.
But still, even 1 second.
Oh, they had 4.
3, yeah,
3.
Right. No, I know, but I'm just saying
that's not the impact that people think it is because the ball doesn't start or the clock doesn't start when the ball's kicked.
Right.
The clock starts when the ball is touched. So if somebody snatches it at the 35 and goes down, now you've got 1 second. Now there's 12 seconds, but the ball's at the 35 instead of the 25.
Technically, do you have to touch him, or
no? Just when you give
NFL?
yourself up, and no, in the NFL you can give yourself up and go down.
Okay. Yeah, you probably tell them that before the kickoff.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that concludes the 513shirts.com mailbag. Don't forget you can get free shipping on all orders over $45. Enter code BCJ for 10% off there at 513shirts.com. And you get 15% off of the Malik Band collection, as well as right now, because of how well your Cincinnati Bengals are doing, 20% off of their shit.
Mailbag, timestamp it, you son of a bitch.
I was already on it, man.
Well, that was yet again another fantastic BBP, guys. Anything before we close this one out? Thank you, 513 Shirts, by the way. Beautiful mailbag.
And Danco.
Well, Danco is coming next.
And Homefield.
Get us out of here, man. Get us all the way out.
Like I said, special thank you to 513 Shirts, to Homefield, and to, of course, Danco Transmission. $90 off. Just go take them a rinky dink. See what they can do with it. You get $90 off. Anyway, another beautiful BBP for my partners in crime, for my good pals, good friends, Aaron Smith and Chad Brendel. I am Brent Young. Yet again, this was the Bearcat Bounce podcast presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!